morning, everyone. Welcome to the Early Edge. My name is Sia Nejad, and we are brought to you by BetMGM. Make it legendary. I'll tell you what, before we bring in the stars of the show, and we do have some serious star power today, we do not have a legendary recap screen. Well, I guess it's legendary in some ways. We go 3-11. I lose 2 out of 3. I lose my golf bets. I do hit my NFL prop. I've hit 10 in a row on the NFL Player Prop Show. So there's that. But Will Brinson, Danny Brasco, Larry Hartstein, they don't hit theirs. Buckets goes 1 for 2. Sportsline picks go 1 for 3. Again, pretty bad recap screen, but we got to bounce back. We got AMAG's picks in the chat. Baseball right around the corner. We'll have AMAG's and Matt Sniper back before you know it. But let's talk about the here and now because, ladies and gentlemen, it's National Championship Monday. And we're bringing Chip Patterson. We're bringing Mikey B, Eric Cohen, Mike McClure, Tom Casale. Chip, usually when you're on the show, I start with you. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that now. I know we don't have a Chip Me Up, but you got to be excited about tonight.
Yeah, bittersweet, honestly, Sia. You know, like you pour so much into this, and the way that the current playoff format is set up, it kind of drags in. I mean, it almost feels as though you're going back and you haven't even written new notes yet, right? I mean, you're just going back. You're trying to find more angles to it. But ultimately, the thing that I am so excited about in this very moment is that no matter who wins tonight, we have an unbelievable story. Obviously, Indiana winning is one of the greatest stories in sports, American sports, global sports, just sort of where they were to where they've become. And then for those of you, especially of a certain generation, Miami getting back to the top of the mountain is awesome. I mean, and this would be the third program peak. They had a decade of dominance, right? From 1983 to 1991. Then they had to go in the NCAA basement and emerge once again with one of the most talented teams we've ever seen. And it has not been since that awful call against Ohio State that we've even seen them on this stage. So no matter who wins tonight, the things that I'm excited about at this point of the year is the stories, the people, the humans and all this. And no matter who wins, there's an unbelievable story to tell about the season.
Tom, was it pass interference in that Miami-Ohio State game 20 years ago or whatever it was?
Oh, no, not even close. I mean, they got the guy who threw the flag waved it off, and then he threw the flag. And that doesn't get talked about enough as the worst call in the history of sports.
EC, I thought you were nodding your head the other way there.
I'll tell you what, I was at the game, Sia. I was in the opposite end zone. I was pulling for Miami as my parents went there. I thought it was a good call, honestly, but it was very, very late. That was the problem with it. I thought it was holding or pass interference. Had to call something, just not when they called it.
EC, I have a funny golf story that literally just happened before we went live. I'll save it. We got the American Express. We got the early wedge coming up tomorrow at 7 o'clock. Mike, I see in the chat you put 22 days until pitchers and catchers report, 32 days until first spring training game, 0 days until AMAGS makes an appearance in the chat. Apparently, he's in here. Mike, you got to be excited about baseball, but you came with a national championship pick.
Yeah, excited about baseball, excited about national championship, excited about golf, excited about all the drama in the NFL. How about names of coaches? It just dawned on me again this morning. Mike and Sean just dominate the league, right? You got Mike and Sean in the AFC, Mike and Sean in the NFC. Mike McDaniel got fired. Sean McDermott just got fired. Mike Tomlin steps down. Like, it's just there's two names dominating. So kind of pick your fighter there. I thought that was interesting. And yeah, just all fired up today. Lots of takes, particularly about the NFL if you want them.
Yeah, more NFL takes coming up later in the show. Chip, did you have follow-up there?
No, that's the type of thing that just warms my heart. Like being able to see through everything and be able to point out, the one angle that no one else is looking at. Like, that is a skill in our industry. And sure enough, Mike has got it's the world of Mike and Sean's out there. Okay. The NFL is the league of Mike and Sean's, and no one uncovered it before Mike McClure did.
That's true, actually. Mikey B, we've got NBA all day today. I guess you've got a couple of NBA picks, correct?
Yeah, I'm kind of third wheeling it here with all the college footballs talk here from the group on our Family Squares edition, or whatever you call it, Hollywood Squares edition of the Early Edge this morning. Yeah, there's 9 games today. They start at 1 o'clock So, of course, I got a couple picks for you.
If you get the Hollywood Squares reference, I want to know in the chat. Let us know
sorry.
in the chat, because I don't know how dated that is for so many people. Speaking of dated, we're 5 minutes in the show and we don't have a pick yet. So, Mike, I'm going to let you kick us off. We've got a lot of college football picks on the show today. Of course, we've got some NBA. EC, I know you have a parlay that implicates tonight's game, but also some NFL games. I've got a PGA long shot that I'm just going to give out on a Monday, just a kind of a crazy 80-1 shot in the without Scheffler market. But Mike McClure, talk to us about the Miami Hurricanes.
All right, Miami Hurricanes. Look, they've been good to get to this point. Certainly not the matchup that we thought we might get in college football this year. I'm going to back them, though. I'm a little pro Miami in this game. I know that IU's been an absolute freight train, running over literally everyone. I'm not going to get in the way of picking the winner or the spread. I'm just looking at Miami's team total here, Sia. Over 18.5, minus 120 currently. I like the chances of them getting to a 20th point in this game, frankly. We know how key 20 and 21 are in terms of key numbers. When you look at this Indiana team, if they're having success, they are absolutely aware of the spread in this game. They have every intention to go try and cover it. I personally think that Miami's got the ability to go score. But what I like about this bet is win or lose, cover or don't cover, I think they've got a chance to cash this, because I think in almost every scenario, they are neutral at best. I do not see the scenario that Miami is out here leading this game by multiple scores. If that happens, they will absolutely take the air out of the ball and really get this game over as quickly as possible. But I think the more likely outcome is neutral if things are going really well, and potentially trailing by multiple scores, having to be aggressive, having to speed up that tempo. Just a key number here in a spot where it's truly kind of a neutral site game in terms of the crowd situation. I think that 20 is that key number here for Miami. So I think that they've got enough big plays, whether it's Mark Fletcher on the ground, Malachi Toney, any way they want to put the football in his hands. I like their chances here of getting to a 20th point in this game. I made their median number here 21.
So what's interesting, Tom, about this game is we've just got the Miami team total over pick. Chip's got 3 picks on this game. You've got one pick, but it's a prop, which we're going to get to in a second. But nobody has a pick against the spread, and that's not a bad thing. I mean, we got an efficient line. Indiana's kind of scary. Miami's very good. You know, which way do we go? And you see, I'm looking. You kind of have a pick because you have a money line implicated in your parlay. But Tom, real quick, if you had to take something here, now this is rocked between 6.5, 8.5, 7.5. It's now 7.5 here at BetMGM. Do you have a lean one way or the other? My personal lean would be to just take the points. 7.5 is a lot against this Miami team. Tom, what's your lean here?
Yeah, I would lean Indiana. I think the spread's a little high. That's why I'm not going to bet it. I can't argue anyone taking Miami. I feel like it's going to be like last year's game where Ohio State kind of controlled it, was covering, then Notre Dame covered late, and then Ohio State hit the big play to Smith and then kicked the field goal. And then the spread was in doubt in the fourth quarter. I feel like we're going to have a similar game to that, where Indiana kind of controls the game, but because the number is so high, I do think the spread is going to be in doubt there in the fourth quarter. So I think there's probably better ways to bet this game than just taking the spread flat out.
All right. If you've got questions about this game or the NBA or NFL or other NFL stuff or even golf, maybe we can get there. Hey, Mikey B, Big Cheesy in the chat. We know he's sharp. He says Giannis over 10.5 rebounds minus 105. Any thoughts there?
Yeah, I do like that. There was someone else in the chat said over Giannis 29.5 points. I probably like that one even better. The Bucks are really, really in a tough spot right now. They're getting blown out left and right. Big attention day in the NBA with this slate of games. All eyes on Giannis. I think he's going to be going crazy in this game. I like both. I would like the points one a little bit more.
What about Miles Turner? This is also from Big Cheesy. Over 16.5 PRA minus 120.
Yeah, I also don't mind that too. Miles Turner it's not been a good signing for the Bucks. He has not stepped up, and they really need him, and he really hasn't performed well, but that's a pretty low number for a guy like that. So I'd be okay with that. But again, I like the Giannis points one better than that too.
All right. Let's get to some more picks. Chip Patterson. You've got a handful here. We're looking at the first half, we're looking at the fourth quarter, and we're looking at a prop. Go ahead, my friend.
All right, so we're going to start with what I think will be something that we can take and look at their common opponent, right? So Indiana plays Ohio State in the Big Ten title game. 13-10 is the final. Very much heavyweights just kind of punching it out early on in that game. Then kind of different game script in that Miami-Ohio State game, and that Miami jumped all over Ohio State. But kind of like what Mike was saying, what they do when they got up by a couple scores, they just started sitting on that football. Now, the first half under cashed in the Big Ten title game. The first half under cashed in the Cotton Bowl, Miami's win against Ohio State. And I do think that what we're going to have in this one is a situation where we've got another opportunity here. Now, I've got this in here, the first half under 23.5. That is a number that I like. However, if this thing starts to float a little bit, now I have seen, as you can tell at the minus 105, this thing could hit 24, and that is a massive, massive key number for a first half spread when you think about your 14-10s, things of that nature. But ultimately, I do think that this is going to be a spot where for Miami, you're already going to be missing Xavier Lucas, one of your top cornerbacks, because of the targeting suspension. So you're just trying to keep everything in front of you, right? I mean, you're just trying to do everything you can to limit the explosive play, to make sure that Indiana can't march it right down the field, that Fernando Mendoza doesn't heat it up. They run a lot of RPOs. They're going to be fine with a lot of R's. And of course, R's running means tick, 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 tick. On the other hand, Miami, they want this whole game to be decided in a phone booth. So I like the first half under 23.5. Then, dance with the date that brought you, right? That is commitment. That is following through. That is being a man of principle. And so, if I'm going to be out here all year telling you that Curt Cignetti trains his team to treat snap one the same way as they treat snap 150, that Curt Cignetti trains his team to have the same kind of relentless energy, that Curt Cignetti makes sure that his coaches remain as relentless and aggressive all the way into the fourth quarter, well, longtime fans of the show, you know what we do. With Coach Sig, we smoke it through the filter. That means Indiana pre-flop in the fourth quarter, minus 1.5. I expect that they will go out on top, being champions with that same kind of attitude. And then finally, a prop that we discussed on here last week that did end up cashing, because as we had the Mark Fletcher rushing yards over, a fantastic pick. Remember the discussion with Tom and Mike and myself, we started to also go into what about Mark Fletcher longest rush? That cashed as he ripped off a 19-yarder, and I think that we'll get that cash once again. Mark Fletcher longest rush over 16.5 is where you've got it right now. This is going to be a situation where, because Indiana, the way that they apply pass rush is with a lot of stunts, with a lot of twists. It's not as much like head up mano-a-mano because they just don't have the size that Miami has. And so when you're moving all those players around, there is a potential to get a lot of open field. There's the potential for a lot of counters. Or if I just want to trust Mark Fletcher, the 220-pound freight train who's running well right now, to break a tackle or two, well, then all of a sudden you're going to get a lot of open space. And so, we like Mark Fletcher, longest rush, over 16.5, low scoring start. Indiana finishes strong. In terms of the spread here, Tom, I like what you were saying. This seems like it's a 10-point game. Miami's driving, and then like half of America wants Mario to kick the field goal, right? Just so that they can cover the spread, and half of America knows that you need to make it. I just don't want any part of that. I don't want it on my sweat agenda for the evening. So I think Indiana wins this game. My scores have been 30-20, 28-20. So I agree with Mike's key number of 20. Hoosiers are going to be able to score eventually. I just don't think it'll happen early.
Tom, I know you have a prop in this game, which we're going to get to immediately after the break. But as far as Mark Fletcher is concerned, talk to me about his yardage in general. Obviously, we've got the Mark Fletcher longest rush over 16.5 from Chip. But any thoughts on his yardage prop?
Yeah, I actually took Shamar Brown at 19.5 when that came out. But that's over 25 now, so I'm not going to give that. 19.5 to me was because he's going to get about 7 carries, right? He got 14 last game, probably not going to get 14, but about 7 carries is usually what he gets. So 19.5 seemed like it was low to me. That's gone up too much. The thing about Fletcher this week is when we took it last week, it was 88.5. So now you're getting it to me at a really good number, because there isn't a scenario where Miami isn't going to run the football. I mean, even if they're down, you're going to get some handoffs there. So I like that play. I think both backs have some success tonight. Win or lose, Miami's going to keep pounding the rock.
All right. And Mike, we're going to get your thoughts on just kind of winners and losers in this Miami game later on in the show in terms of the spread and potentially an outright victory. EC, I know you have some thoughts on this game as well. I have some thoughts on BetMGM. BetMGM players will receive a no sweat token to apply to any bet on tonight's college football final game to use. Just make a college football bet and activate the token. If your bet loses, you will receive bonus bets back only at BetMGM. Again, take advantage of that BetMGM promotion. It is a no sweat token. Get your stake back in bonus bets. I've got an incredibly funny story that is only going to be funny to everybody else that's watching and listening and not to me necessarily. It's about golf and a bet I just kind of accidentally made. With that said, I will get to that. And we're going to get to EC's plays and Mikey B's plays and your questions in the chat and a lot more right after this message from our partners.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ. Streaming free anywhere you are.
We're back on the Early Edge, brought to you by BetMGM. Make it legendary. Mike Jeezy in the chat says Miami 38. Indiana 17. I'm surprised that Ben didn't block him immediately upon seeing that comment. I'm kidding, of course. Thanks for your contribution. EC, you're shaking your head like that's not going to happen. EC, I'm going to get to your pick in just a second. And Mikey B, I know we have NBA. We got some questions as well. So here's what happened. Do you all remember? It was about, 9:58. And I said, the winner without market is out for the American Express. Of course, that would be winner without Scottie Scheffler because he's in this tournament. Now, full disclosure, last week at the Sony Open, EC, you and me, we do the show every Tuesday at 7 o'clock, and I didn't do so well. I lost my matchups. I went 1 for 2 on the finishing position bets, and I certainly didn't hit an outright. So it was kind of a random tournament. As it turns out, the wind kind of picked up. It was a little unexpected. But anyway, the point is, Jacob Bridgman played pretty well in that tournament, and I'm a big Jacob Bridgman guy. If you watched the early wedge last year, you know I was kind of big on Jacob Bridgman. He kind of fell off. He's a guy that can make a lot of birdies. He's a good putter. The reason I say all this is because at 9:58, when that winner without market came out, it was over on DK. I saw Jacob Bridgman was 80-1 in the without Scottie Scheffler market. So I said, okay, I'm going to bet that. And, I wasn't planning on putting a lot of money on it. So I put $14 because at 80-1, $14 gets me well over 1,000 on the return. So I put the bet in. We're about to go live. I'm talking to the guys here. We're about to go live. And as the countdown is happening, ladies and gentlemen, it occurs to me that when I clicked to bet the Jacob Bridgman play, I didn't put 14. I put 114. So now, everyone, I don't know if I've changed the line. I doubt I have. But I have now about 11,000 and change returning to me if Jacob Bridgman actually wins this tournament or comes in second place. By the way, if you're curious, there was not an immediate cash out option because I did look at that to see, okay, can I take it back and then make the bet I actually wanted to make? We'll see if that occurs. I may just leave it. The larger point here is I'm out $100 that I need to win back on somebody's bet tonight. So let's transition. Again, my play, I'm just putting this out on the show. Jacob Bridgman to win in the without Scottie Scheffler market is 80-1. EC, your reaction.
I'm sorry you did that, Sia. I like the pick. I haven't dug into the American Express yet. I'll do that later today. But I wish you the best of luck. We will be praying for you on Sunday in this wacky tournament.
It would be an amazing story if he's ended on Sunday.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think this is smart because if you had not admitted to it, you would not introduce this as a thing that now everyone is rooting for. By admitting to this mistake, now the whole early edge universe is dialed in on our old Clemson Tiger, Jacob Bridgman, to be able to get this thing done and at least finish second to Scottie. I mean, I truly have my rooting interest now, and now that's more positive energy into the universe. Very smart, Sia. Very smart.
It's all like subconsciously, I think, a marketing play by me. So we'll see how we ride this the rest of the way.
Going into the weekend.
Engagement. By the way, the serial bracket at 11 o'clock, I'm going to post that on Twitter. So check that out. It looks really cool. I'm probably going to do a giveaway associated with it. You can attach your Final Four, all of that stuff. All right, let's get to more picks. EC, you've got a couple of parlays to talk to us about. So it starts with Indiana. Talk to me.
Yeah, let's start with Indiana here. We have the best coach in the country going up against the worst coach in the in-game coach in the country, Mario Cristobal. I mean, can we argue that? He's
Yeah,
The
I
worst.
mean, we can. I don't feel like putting 4 or 5 coaches on blast, but the narrative street is certainly there.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, right. Listen, I know Miami has a home game, but the fact is that Indiana defense has only given up more than 20 points twice this season, once against Penn State in the game where they got very lucky to win, and then in garbage time against Oregon. I've come on this show twice in January and looked like a fool by picking against Indiana twice. I picked Alabama to win outright. That was horrendous. That was arguably worse than losing $100 to McClure in that Oregon Texas Tech game. And then I came on and said, I think Oregon's going to beat Indiana. Yeah, I'm not doing that again. I think Indiana is better. I know if my parents are watching, they met at the University of Miami. They're very excited. They got Fiesta Bowl championship shirts. Doesn't matter. They're going to lose tonight. Miami's going to lose. Give me Indiana 27, Miami 17, which means my parlay at plus 150 is Indiana money line and under 47.5. I love this under. Now, we can still win with 27-20, so everybody's happy. M Squared hits his bet. Chip hits it. Everybody hits everything. I'm going the under 47.5. That's a key number for me here. And secondly, I'm going to give a parlay for Sunday. I will have these picks up on SportsLine here soon. I do like these are both money line plays. I like the Patriots to win in Denver. I don't think that's a surprise to anybody. Jared Stidham, I just can't buy that. Low scoring game there. I'll have a play on the site here soon. And then I'm just going to say this, and I'll give more rationale on the site. I, in good conscience, cannot pick Sam Darnold to beat Matthew Stafford in a big game. This year against the Rams, Sam Darnold, 2 touchdown passes, 6 interceptions. I saw this matchup in Arizona last year when Darnold was with the Vikings. They had to move that playoff game from LA to Arizona, and Darnold got crushed by that Rams defense. I think it'll be a close game, but give me the Rams and Patriots to meet in the Super Bowl at plus 222.
All right, we got a couple of money line. We're going to be talking about those NFL games a lot throughout the week, obviously. So we're getting started with Patriots money line, Rams money line, plus 222. There was a comment, Tom, about Carson Beck. So I think it was Cleveland Clown was like, Carson Beck's a bust. I mean, I think Carson Beck's been playing really well in this playoff. I do think he's a bit of an X factor, which is not breaking any news. He's the actual quarterback. There was also a comment from Gipper's Picks, Tom, about the Miami offensive line. There is a path for Miami to control this game at the line of scrimmage, is there not?
Yeah, there is. And, I'll just say Dante Moore might be a better pro prospect but Carson Beck. But what have you seen in your life that tells you that he's a better college quarterback? Because the answer is nothing. And Carson Beck in this playoff, you can say what you want about him. He's tough. He's been standing in the pocket and taking hits and delivering the ball. So I don't know. I think we heard a couple years ago, we heard Carson Beck was going to be the number 1 pick in the draft, right? And everybody went nuts, me included. This guy's going to be the number 1 pick in the draft. But I think at some point we got to even that out a little bit. Like he's not quite as bad as people make him out to be. And on this team, they're asking him to be Sam Darnold. They're not asking him to throw the ball 45 times and win the game. They're asking him to complete passes on third down, maybe hit a couple of shots down the field, don't turn the ball over. And he's done a pretty good job. So I think that narrative is a little bit overblown.
Mikey B, we're going to get to your NBA picks in a second. But Chip and Mike, I want you to respond to just the Carson Beck and the Miami line of scrimmage talk. Mike, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I would say the same thing about Carson Beck. I've been not much of a Carson Beck truther in the grand scheme of things. Over the last, this little playoff run, it to me, while he hasn't been great and the team, has relied a lot on the defense at times, his experience has showed. They've won a couple of games here just because of the sheer volume of repetitions he's had at this level of college football. While, again, he didn't get it done necessarily at Georgia all the time, he played a lot of snaps there. He played a lot. He's seen a lot of great, tough defenses in the SEC. He's thrown essentially 1,400 passes in college football. That's a lot for a college football quarterback. Basically closing on 12,000 yards passing in college football, just all the things. He's shown a lot of experience. He's obviously a little older. I think he's more than capable with his legs at times too. I think he takes off and runs a little bit tonight. So yeah, not a big fan of him. Don't think he has a future in the NFL, but I do think he is a better college quarterback than Moore was in this particular season. So yeah, I think that Carson Beck, as much as I haven't liked him for his entire career, I think that he deserves a lot of credit for having them in this position.
Chip,
Yeah.
before you chime in, I just want to acknowledge Silas Searcy's comment from a few minutes ago. He says, "Happy Martin Luther King Day." And he also says, "Bash the like button." So appreciate both of those comments. Chip, go ahead.
Yeah, happy Martin Luther King Day. King in the Wilderness is probably my favorite piece of sort of like documentary related. If you want to take some time checking it out, that'd be one thing I would point you to. So Carson Beck, what is it, 37-5 as a starting quarterback? I mean, we mentioned the yards and the attempts right there. I am not the expert here, but the experts who are the real tape grinders, they say that one of the things that Indiana does very, very well is change the look defensively. And against an inexperienced quarterback like Dante Moore, means you get flustered, means you don't know what you're looking at. You think Carson Beck playing against SEC defenses and like with all the college football he's played, you think that's going to fool him? You think Ohio State wasn't trying to do that as well with Matt Patricia and the way that the Buckeyes defense has played all season? I just think that Carson Beck up here, like that is the X factor to me. The fact that he can, like you said, stay in the pocket, work through his progressions, make the right throw. No, he is not the same downfield passer as he was before the surgery. And when he hit that 36-yard touchdown to Malachi Toney, buddy, he was winding it up like it was a Looney Tunes getting ready to throw a baseball, right? He just has to go, just to get it all the way down the field. But on that 3rd and 7, when that ball has to be on CJ Daniels' outside pad, he's able to deliver it. He's able to deliver it on time. I think Carson Beck has really done well for himself, obviously, but also just been really good for what the team has asked him to do. I do not view Carson. Hey, look, if his brain breaks and we have another 4-interception game, like that'd be super disappointing, right? I want excellence out of both my national championship game competitors. That would not be excellence, but for the most part, nothing but high grades for what Beck has done, and I think a lot of it has to do with the experience.
He totally looks the part to me. Go ahead, EC.
I want to ask about the coaching mismatch in this. I mean, this is like significant here with Signetti, who is basically looks like a genius, and Mario Cristobal, who we have bashed for years collectively for his weird in-game decisions. How much do you think that plays into things tonight?
Here's the thing that's going to jump out at me. Won't necessarily be the 4th down calls. It'll be the timeout usage. Okay. Yeah. So 2023 was when they should have kneeled the game. If they kneeled the game, they beat Georgia Tech. They end up losing. 2024 had a couple of these too. But if he just gets flustered and calls 2 timeouts in the first 7 minutes of the 3rd quarter, you're going to be like, yo, buddy, that we might need those for the end of this game. Those kinds of scenarios are the things that I'm probably keeping an eye on, where I just think that he gets so into the game. And that's the other thing is I think we have to give Mario Cristobal a compliment for the way that he's had this team mentally ready to go into College Station and beat Texas A&M, to go up against the betting favorite in Ohio State and beat them, to be down and have the lead going back and forth. And that Miami team was resilient against Ole Miss in the win of the semifinals. Some of that is coaching, having your team mentally locked in at the level that they need to be able to go and compete. And when his chest is out and he's saying, yeah, mother effer, yeah, blah, blah, you're like, hey, like, yeah, that's it. Like, that is imprinting your DNA on the team. So that's why I give him credit for that. But this like timeout usage, clock, game management, we'll see. We'll see if it ends up being an issue.
Yeah, back to college football. We actually, believe it or not, we still have another pick to go in college football, but we got more picks and questions to go in the NBA as well. Mike Barner, you got Jaylen Brown, you got Evan Mobley.
All right, first we're going to do Jaylen Brown over 40.5 points, rebounds, and assists at -125. Over his last 22 games, Jaylen Brown has averaged 31.4 points, 7 rebounds, and 5.4 assists. He combined for at least 41 points, rebounds, and assists in 17 of those 22 games. Now, they're playing the Pistons, second best defensive rating in the league. But guess what? They haven't had any answers for Brown this season. They've already played 3 times. In those 3 games, Brown combined for 51, 48, and 49 points, rebounds, and assists. He has proven that he can score even against the best teams in the league, so I like him to go over that total. And then another one against a good defensive team, Evan Mobley over 15.5 points at -128. We're getting a pretty good discount here. He's averaging 17.8 points per game for the season, but he's facing the Thunder, best defensive rating in the league. However, I think he gets additional shots in this game with Darius Garland out, also working in his favor. This game is being played in Cleveland. At home this season, he is averaging 18.9 points per game. When he faced the Thunder at home last season, he had 21 points. No Isaiah Hartenstein, no Jalen Williams for the Thunder, so they are missing 2 key defenders I have seen this move to 16.5 in some places. I like over 15.5, and I like over 16.5 points for Evan Mobley.
All right, we got a couple of overs to talk about. And Believe wants to know, Mikey B, the newest Atlanta Hawk is CJ McCollum. Any thoughts on over 5 assists at plus 140?
I don't mind if you want to take the risk on that now at those odds, but we don't know if Dyson Daniels is going to play. If he plays, I like that a lot less. If he doesn't, I like that a lot more. So considering you're getting plus 140, if you want to place maybe like a half unit on that now, I'm okay with that.
All right.
That's that's great, because I want to make my new teammates love me. That's straight from like the buckets and Chip new transfer has just been added to the soccer team to score or assist just based on trying to impress everybody. I think that's a fantastic shout, Believe.
CJ McCollum is I think that's a good acquisition for the Hawks in terms of helping them this season.
No clue.
Mike, before we get to Tom's pick, Gipper's Picks has a Mike McClure special. He says Indiana punt first possession plus 125, great value. Any thoughts there, Mike?
I don't mind it. I think it's probably okay. I think there's far more variance in the college football game in these markets than there is in the NFL game. So I personally won't be on it, but I don't hate it.
All right. Sox Nation says, EC, great weekend on the site. Thank you. I mean, not everybody had a great weekend, so that's good to point out. Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, my only follow-up to that be on the Indiana, the punt first drive on either one of them. Both defenses, I think we understand, are solid defenses. There's a chance that with a great defensive stand on the first set of downs, your starting field position is midfield. That's the only worry that I have in this spot taking first possession punt on either side. I think there's a high probability of a big defensive play on either side that creates a short field for either team in their first possession. So I personally won't play them.
All right. We still have one player prop to go, Tom Casale. Best for last. Talk to me about Malachi Toney.
Yeah, I had a couple of picks that I couldn't give out here. Shamar Brown, I mentioned 19.5 goes up to 25.5. That's a difference of averaging 2.5 yards per carry or over 4 with the backup running back. I'm not going to give it out at that high. I like Chip's play of the under in the first half. I really liked the first quarter under when it was 10.5. Now that's 9.5. So you're taking 7.3 out of the equation. So I'm going to go with Malachi Toney here over receiving yards. He's gone over this number 9 times. Now, the first 2 playoff games, he didn't do much. Then he had 81 yards last game against Ole Miss. My thinking is no matter how this game goes, he has to be involved. If Miami's competing and close, then he has to be making some plays. If they're getting blown out in the second half and Indiana starts playing back a little bit, then you get a chance to get some of those Oregon garbage points and yards, like Mike was talking about with the team total. So I think no matter which way this game goes, unless like Chip mentioned, if Miami's up big and they take the air out of the ball, but I don't think any of us think it's going to go that way, then I think Toney has a good chance of getting over 61.5 yards. I'd play it up to 63.5. I think that's a pretty good number.
Mike, I did promise everyone that we'd get your opinion on the spread here, if you have one. And if you don't, you can abstain. The spread, money line, whatever the case may be. Any thoughts on this one? 7.5 again is the spread here.
Yeah, so I would make it closer to 6.5 than 7.5. I'd be on the other side of the touchdown. I understand why it is where it is. IU, outside of one game against Ohio State, which does happen to be a common opponent, but outside of Ohio State, they've steamrolled everyone. They did not steamroll Ohio State. I think that if Indiana wins this game and it's not, a final, comeback drive essentially where they fall down 3 and have to orchestrate a touchdown drive to win it. If they just simply win this game, I think they're covering the spread. I think there is a strong desire to cover the spread. I think they know what the spread is. And I think that they will do everything they can to run up the score as much as they possibly can. So part of my position, a little bit of respect and a little bit of unknown on Indiana. It's hard to get the, I'm doing everything with the computer. It's very difficult to get the computer to get to that point. But having said that, I do understand that they have the motivation. They certainly have the ability. So I'm backing Miami in a different way. But if I were blindly following it, I would have been on Miami at 8.5. Would still probably be there at 7.5, would not be there at 7 or anything else.
The birthday girl last week, Jen, says she has Indiana to win, and both teams have scored 20 plus at plus 230. This is kind of random. Judah Baker, Tom, I'll go to you. I don't know if you looked. I mean, the college basketball slate is not very good today. I mean, it's just not a lot of good teams playing. By any chance, Tom, did you look at Florida A&M minus 12.5 at plus 105?
I did not. I do have a play on the site, and it's not Florida A&M. That's not really my conference. I'm not great at it, so I didn't really dive into that one.
Is it Mason GW? Do you have a George Mason, George Washington play? Kind of.
No, I don't. I love George. I love George Mason overall, though.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. This sneaky fun college hoops game.
Yeah.
5 p.m. Eastern time tip-off. You've got a little bit of that, George Mason. Not only is it just A-10 conference game, but like true rivalry, programs that know each other, teams that want to get into it. So George Mason, George Washington, 5 o'clock tip-off on CBS Sports Network. Kind of fun. And like you, Tom, I think George Mason is a really, really good team this year. So I would maybe lean to the home side on that one for this this matchup, but no official play for me, but great ball right there at 5 o'clock just to kind of get the motor going as you're getting ready for the evening.
Now is as good of a time as any to get into SportsLine and the SportsLine Discord, because I trust that there's going to be somebody talking about that game in the college basketball channel before that tip at 5, especially on a holiday day like this. So if you're not a member of SportsLine already, go to sportsline.com/join, type in the promo code winners, you get 60% off the annual plan. And of course, that gives you the Discord for free. It gives you all the picks, the model picks, the Mike simulations, DFS plays, articles, all of that stuff, of course. But it also gives you the SportsLine Discord where you can talk to anybody and everybody from the SportsLine universe. We've got separate channels for each and every sport. Go to discord.gg/SportsLine if you're a SportsLine member, and you'll get access right to it. Okay, we're going to do one more question, Mikey B, and then we're going to go to the recap screen. Stefan Casale, over 7.5 assists, minus 110. Rick Funcannon wants to know.
I like his number better at 6.5. I regularly play the over of that. They're playing the Jazz. That's why this is 7.5, because they play no defense. However, we have seen the Jazz tanking shenanigans. So there's very possible that the Spurs just blow them out and Casale doesn't even play in the fourth quarter. So, Rick, we've got 9 games today. I don't want to play a side on that Stephen Casale assist.
That's totally fair. Real quick, Mike McClure, have you run anything for the American Express yet?
Just very, very brief. The rest of that'll be out later today over on SportsLine. But yes, excited for it. Loaded field. I would say guys that are popping a little for me initially will be Ludwig and Fitzpatrick, thanks to Scotty being in the field at the number that he's at.
Yeah, Fitzpatrick is a guy is going to be on my radar. EC, anybody on your radar early on a Monday? Obviously, your picks will be out tomorrow.
Yeah, just kind of looking at it here. I'm looking at the top of the board. I mean, Patrick Cantlay in 6 appearances here has 4 top 10s. So that seems like at worst a finishing position play if we can get him at plus money. So we'll take a look at that. Other guys, I mean, maybe Sam Burns, guys that were on my no bet list last year that were taken off. I think we're allowed to bet at this wacky tournament.
Yeah, Sam Burns makes some sense here. Chip, Links Patterson, you're not turning the page to golf until after the national championship. Is that right?
Well, I mean, we're dabbling, we're following, but college basketball will really be where I'm like turning the knobs, at least until we get through the Final Four. At this point, so much of it is vibes and principles, and vibes and principles keep Patrick Cantlay on my do not bet list. And that is just purely a choice of my own, right? I don't want to be even signing up for that. Like if I'm offered multiple streams, right, to follow certain groups, do I want to be investing my time saddling up next to Patrick Cantlay? I do not. So that was why I made a face like that. But I just wrote down on my notepad Ludwig and Fitzpatrick so that I can take it in. I mean, Ryan Gerard was a good shout last week. So we're good, man. We're turning the knobs a little bit.
Shout out to Patrick McDonald, who had Ryan Gerard, I believe, in the top 20 market at plus 280, and that cashed swimmingly. Like that wasn't even close.
Danced it to the window.
If anybody wants to put $114 on Jacob Bridgman in the without market,
$11,000 coming your way.
I'll join you on that, apparently. All right, let's get to the recap screen, and we'll get everybody out of here. Thanks, everybody, for joining the show, and thanks for listening after the fact. Whenever you listen, whenever you internalize this show, we thank you very much. American Express, like I said, kind of a funny, perhaps tragic story. Jacob Bridgman plus 8,000 without Scotty Scheffler. It's just a random outright on a Monday. Certainly something I'm always going to bet. Maybe not bet as much as I did, but I like to have some early plays to sort of wet the palate on for PGA this year. Indiana, Miami first half under 23.5 at -105. That one's from Chip Patterson. He also has Indiana fourth quarter -1.5 at -104, and Mark Fletcher longest rush over 16.5 yards at -114. Another prop, Malachi Toney over 61.5 receiving yards -115 from Tom Casale. In Miami team total over 18.5 -120. That one from Mike McClure. We go to the NBA, Jaylen Brown over 40.5 points, rebounds, and assists at -125. And Evan Mobley over 15.5 points, -128. And then finally, Eric Cohen, parlay, Indiana money line plus the under 47.5 at +150. And then another parlay with the NFL Conference Championships, Patriots money line plus Rams money line pays +222. What a show. I guess we had too many Hollywood squares going on. Otherwise, maybe Ben should have come up on the show and stuck up for Indiana. But I'll tell you what, Ben, you can celebrate Indiana tomorrow if and when they win. And shout out to you. Sorry about the Bears. That was an excellent game. We could talk so much more about the NFL. Sean McDermott, we can't take up an hour of your time. So we'll only take up the 40 minutes. Thank you, Chip. Thank you, Mikey B. Thank you, Tom Casale, Mike McClure, Eric Cohen, and of course, Ben on the 1s and 2s and 6s and 7s. Thanks, everybody in the chat. Appreciate you. Enjoy all the sports throughout the day and tonight. We'll see you tomorrow on The Early Edge. We rest our case.